Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Best Online Medical Lectures. So in the last video we have discussed about the endocrine pancreas, insulin, its structure and synthesis. Okay, so this is the part 2 of the videos of a series of videos of endocrine pancreas part 2. So we have discussed already about the insulin. It is secreted from the beta cells and how it is synthesized inside a cell and stored in the form of the granules along with zinc. Okay, now how it is secreted from the cell. So just consider this as a beta cell. Okay, I am just drawing a rough diagram of beta cell. Okay, consider this as beta cell of the islets of Langerhans. So this beta cell, it is in this beta cells, in the last lecture, that is the part 1 of the endocrine pancreas, what we have discussed is this insulin molecule is associated with the zinc as hexamer. Okay, so one zinc molecule, there will be 6 insulin molecules will be attached and it is stored in the granules. Now what we are going to study in this secretion part, how exactly this insulin is released. So one of the most important or the potent stimulus for the release of the insulin from this beta cell, okay, release of this insulin from this beta cell of islets of Langerhans is glucose. Okay, so the glucose molecule will stimulate the release of this insulin outside the cell and this insulin comes into the blood circulation. Now the glucose molecules are sensed by one receptors which are situated on the beta cells. So these receptors are known as glucose transporters. So these are 12 membrane pass proteins. Okay, so this transporters, it is known as glucose transporter 2 or simply GLUT2. Okay, so the glucose transporter 2 or GLUT2. So the glucose molecule will bind to this domain of this GLUT2 receptors. Okay, so the glucose molecules will bind to this domain of this GLUT2 receptors. So when they bind to the glucose molecule, when they bind to this GLUT2 receptors, what happens is there is a conformational change here and this GLUT2 receptor which is present on the cell membrane of this beta chain, that is the 12 membrane pass protein. So there is a conformational change and this will flip inside, and this domain will flip inside and the glucose molecule will enter into the beta cell. Okay, this blue color thing is the glucose molecule. Now series of chemical reactions takes place in the beta cell when the glucose is entered into the beta cell. Before that chemical reactions, I would like to just say this GLUT2 or the glucose transporters, where they are situated. So apart from this beta cells, this GLUT2, these are insulin independent. Okay, this does not require the insulin for the entry of the glucose into a cell. So these are present in the GLUT2 receptors, are present in the beta cells of islets of Langerhans, then it is present in the liver, it is present in the intestine, it is present in the kidney, intestine, liver. Okay, so these are the tissues in which this GLUT2 receptors are present. Okay, now once the glucose molecules enter into the cell, beta cell, so it gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate. So for the conversion of the glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, an enzyme, rate limiting enzyme, glucokinase. Okay, basically it is a glycolysis process. In biochemistry you might have studied, that is the glycolysis. So the glucose gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate and ultimately there are series of chemical reaction and ultimately what is formed? Pyruvate. This is glycolysis, that is from the glucose, pyruvate is formed, right? And this pyruvate, it will enter into the mitochondria. Okay, it will enter into the mitochondria of this beta cell. So in the mitochondria, again, if you remember in the biochemistry, you have studied about the Krebs cycle. Okay, Krebs cycle or TCA cycle, and also oxidative phosphorylation. So this pyruvate enter, and ultimately this glucose will gets associated with this Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation. So the final product is formation of ATP from the ADP. Okay, so this glycolysis and Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation, all these chemical reactions, ultimately what is formed? ATP is formed in the cell. So once the glucose enters, ATP is formed. ATP level increases because of this chemical reaction. Now on the surface of the beta cell, that is on the cell membrane of the beta cell, there are certain ion channels. One is potassium channels. Another one is calcium channel. Okay, two important channels. However, there are other channels too, but for the mechanism of release of this insulin molecule, we'll discuss this calcium channel and potassium channel. Okay, so at the resting condition, when the cell is in a polarized state, that is when the glucose has not yet entered, and now then there is no formation of the ATP. So this ADP, okay, ADP, so it is open, that is potassium channels, the door of this potassium channels is open, and the potassium is leaking out. Okay, and the resting potential of this cell membrane is just for arbitrarily, remember, just it may suppose it is minus 70 millivolt. Okay, minus 70 millivolt. Okay, due to this presence of this ADP, it will keep this potassium channels open. Okay, potassium channel opens, and this door will be open, and the potassium from this intracellularly, it will go outside, and the negativity, that is minus 70 millivolt, will remain. Now what happens is, when the glucose enters and ultimately when this ATP is formed, so these potassium channels are ATP sensitive potassium channels. So this ATP will closes this potassium channel. ATP sensitive potassium channels, this ATP will close this potassium channel. So what will happen is, the potassium ions will not go away. So what happens if the potassium channels will not go outside the cell? The cell here, it will again tend, that is more positive ions will remain inside this cell. So the negativity it is reduced. So from minus 70 it will become minus 50 millivolt. That is negative charge is became less. So this reduction of this charge because of this closure of the potassium channel, and this is called as depolarization. So because of the closure of this potassium channel due to the presence of the ATP causes the depolarization. So because of that depolarization, so more number of the potassium will remain here. Okay, now before that, this is potassium channel. As I said, there is one more channel, calcium channel. So calcium channel at the resting condition, this calcium channel is voltage gated calcium channel. This potassium channel is ATP sensitive. Remember these terms, potassium channel is ATP sensitive, and this calcium channel is voltage gated calcium channels. So when this potassium channel, there is no decrease in the voltage, so the calcium ions are not entering much inside the thing at the resting condition. What this two channels what I have drawn, this is at the resting condition, that is when the glucose has not entered. Okay, now this changes I am showing here in these channels when the glucose enters here, when the glucose enters this cell. So what glucose will do is, it will sensitize this because of increase in the ATP. So ATP sensitive potassium channels are closed, and the inside the depolarization of cell membrane takes place. Due to this change in the membrane charge, this calcium channels, so there is opening of these calcium channels, and calcium from the ECF will enter inside the ICF, that is extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid. Okay, earlier it was not entering. So this is voltage sensitive calcium channels. So once the calcium channels calcium enters here, because of the voltage change, then this calcium will causes these membranes to fuse with the cell membrane, and these vesicles to fuse with this cell membrane, and due to the process of exocytosis, the insulin molecule is released out into the blood circulation. So this is how there is a secretion of this insulin molecule from the pancreatic beta cells. So from the pancreatic beta cells, so many molecular changes takes place, especially from this ATP sensitive potassium channels and the voltage sensitive calcium channels, and ultimately insulin is released. And remember, not only insulin, in equimolar quantities, that is along with insulin in equimolar, that is same amount, C peptide is also released. Okay, and also amylin. We'll discuss what is this importance of amylin and all, but mainly insulin and C peptide in the equimolar quantity. Okay, so the major role is this ATP sensitive potassium channel and the voltage sensitive calcium channels. Okay, this is how it is secreted. Now at this point, I would like to share some clinical significance, some clinical related things of this beta cell, some diseases related to this beta cells mechanisms. So one such disease here related to this glucokinase. So see, GLUT2 is the main sensor. Okay, GLUT2 is the main sensor for the glucose, but here glucokinase is the rate limiting step. If suppose this glucokinase is not functioning properly, if there is a defect in this enzyme, then this glucose will not converted into pyruvate, that is glycolysis process is affected, and ultimately there is no formation of ATP because this Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation substrates are not there. So then this insulin is not secreted. Okay, so there is one clinical condition of diabetes which is known as MODY, M-O-D-Y. What is the full form of this? Maturity onset diabetes mellitus of the young. So in this condition, it is an hereditary genetic condition. There is a mutation of the gene for this glucokinase, and this enzyme glucokinase is not functioning properly. Because of that, even the glucose enters the beta cell, the cell is not able to release the insulin because all these chemical processes are hindered. Okay, because this rate limiting step, glucokinase is not converting glucose into glucose 6-phosphate and ultimately pyruvate. So the insulin is not secreted and blood sugar level increase and diabetes. Okay, so it is one of the form, maturity onset of diabetes of young. We'll discuss in detail signs and symptoms in the applied aspect. Right now just remember this one clinical point. Okay, now one more clinical point I'd like to highlight here is oral hypoglycemic drugs. That is, in type 2 diabetes, we give certain drugs or tablets orally to increase the secretion of insulin. So basically what happens in type 2 diabetes, the insulin beta cell functioning is there, but it is reduced, that is insulin secretion is reduced. So oral diabetics drugs, like one example I'll try to give is sulfonylureas. So sulfonylureas, one of the class of oral hypoglycemic drug, sulfonylureas. So example of this sulfonylureas is tolbutamide, glimepiride, and glimepiride. So these drugs, tolbutamide and glimepiride, they will affect these potassium channels. How they will affect these potassium channels is, so what they will do is they will close this potassium channels. Okay, what this ATP do, even if this is not functioning finally these drugs, what they will do is they will act on these potassium channels and they will close this, and because of this closure of this ATP sensitive potassium channels, what will happen is there is a change in the voltage of the cell membrane, and this voltage sensitive calcium ions which was closed earlier will get opened, and these calcium ions causes the insulin to release into the blood circulation. Okay, so this is how these drugs, common drugs like glimepiride, glycoside, that is the sulfonylureas, they will act. Another class of newer drugs known as meglitinides. Okay, so these meglitinides also have a similar function. Meglitinides. So examples of these newer group of drug is repaglinide or nateglinide. So these drugs, again it is used in type 2 diabetes mellitus. Again it has also a similar function. Again it will block this ATP sensitive potassium channels, and the potassium entry is reduced, which causes the depolarization of the cell membrane, and that will causes the increased influx of the calcium, and calcium will cause the insulin release. So this is how these oral hypoglycemic drugs will act. Further, there is one more drug, diazoxide. Okay, it is actually thiazide derivative, diazoxide. So diazoxide actually has an opposite effect of this thing. Okay, what it will do is it will open up these potassium channels. It will keep it open. Even if this glucose comes, it will open up. When it will open up, then there is no membrane depolarization, there is no calcium influx, and insulin is not released. So this diazoxide has opposite effect of this. They will act on these potassium channels only, but they will open up this channel, and potassium goes out, and there is like how it goes in the resting membrane potential, and there is no depolarization and no calcium entry and no insulin release. So this is basically is used in conditions like insulinoma. So insulinoma, again a tumor of the beta cells of the pancreas, where there is excess secretion of the insulin, and because of that excess secretion of insulin there is hypoglycemia and all. So to reduce the secretion of insulin, this drug is used. Okay, it is also a smooth muscle vasodilator. We'll discuss in detail, but right now at this junction I wanted to bring this point. Okay, so this is how glucose stimulates the release of the secretion of insulin. Okay, however glucose is the powerful stimulant. Apart from this glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, ketones, and other hormones like glucagon also influence the cell membrane to release the insulin. So we will discuss that thing in the regulation of the insulin in the part 3. Okay, in the part 3 we will discuss about the regulation and functions of the insulin. Thank you very much.